Good evening, everyone. Welcome. Tonight, I'm hosting this live stream on behalf of Fastlane Solutions, and today's topic is accelerating your legal business with the smarter eDiscovery solution. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Please make sure you introduce yourselves in the comments and let us know where you're watching us tonight. I'll just even have a reminder for you here. So make sure, please introduce yourself in the comments so we know who's here and we can obviously answer your questions. So again, thank you so much for joining us. And tonight we are going to discuss just overview of the eDiscovery approach and methods, benefits of eDiscovery for the in-house legal compliance teams, as well as the law firms and consultancy, and best avenues and common challenges of the technical integration of Nuix Discover. So, with the rise of digital documents and electronically stored information, the discovery process became more and more complicated. So, if you are finding it challenging to rapidly review your relevant documents, find facts and patterns fast, activate product workflows, this session is for you. So, law firms haven't been under more pressure than now. Clients expect you to be both legal and legal technology experts at the same time for your hourly rate, to include both. So the discovery techniques and tools that we used before just not simply enough anymore. So we can all agree that it's extremely relevant topic for legal businesses these days. So make sure you tag your connections and share this video with those who need to hear this information tonight. So we'll start our session with the brief presentations from our speakers and move to Q&A. But please, we want to make this live stream as interactive as possible. So if you have any questions even during the presentation, please pop it in the comments and we'll try our best to cover all the questions during the stream from all the platforms. So tonight, I just want to remind you so that we're streaming on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook. So you can post your questions in the comments on any of these platforms. Just make sure you stay in the topic. We're talking about eDiscovery today. So make sure to get involved and challenge our speakers. And make sure you stay till the end because it will be some, surprise giveaway for the most active participants at the end of the stream. And of course, if you're enjoying our discussion, make sure to give us a like, hit this like button. This encourages us to keep going and to bring various experts from the industry to share their knowledge with us. So before we dive into the discussion, I would like our speakers to introduce themselves. And again, guys, please make sure you introduce yourselves in the comments and say hi to us. And also let us know where you're watching us from, because we are here today in Australia, partly in Melbourne, partly in Sydney. The border is almost open, so we're almost in the same country now. So please, as I said, introduce yourself in the comments, and I'll just ask our speakers to introduce themselves as well. We'll start with Enzo. Just don't forget to unmute yourself as well.
Okay. Hello, all. My name's Enzo Lishotto. I head up the eDiscovery for APAC. I come with 20 plus years experience within the eDiscovery, within law firms, both here in Australia and the UK. During those 20 plus years, I've worked on a lot of litigation, investigation, and cross-border cases, both globally. I made reference about being the head of eDiscovery for Nuix. So Nuix is an analytical and investigative software. Originated in Canberra in 2000. It came about where a government organisation wanted to get a sense of information that was captured within an email solution. So to do that, they engaged a data scientist who wrote some code that enabled for that email data to be extracted in a searchable format to allow the government entity to apply searches and apply some analysis to that data. We have over 1,000 plus customers, over 79 countries, and we currently support a multitude of domains. So domains is what we classify as law enforcement, government, advisories, legal firms, and service providers.
Thank you.
So Steve Torso, from Managing Director and Founder of Wholesale Investor in Crisp. Basically, I suppose the reference I'll be providing this session is that we, a few years ago, we received investment from London Stock Exchange listed Investec, and also from venture capital group BMYG, which is really part of a lot of what you're sort of going through in the eDiscovery was the process that we went through as part of receiving investment.
Hi, my name is Igor Cole. I'm head of technology in Fastlane Solutions. So we are proud partners of Nuix, and I usually assist customers with deployment and integration of Nuix solutions, including eDiscovery.
Hi everyone, my name is Eugene Fedorchenko. I'm business development partner with Fastlane Solutions. So I tend to represent, especially for this tonight's session, all of the possible worlds in terms of legal tech. Fastlane itself as a company which is a partner to Nuix in terms of integrations and customer success delivery. And I also have a legal background in my previous professional life, so I'm really excited to have this discussion and to encourage audience to participate as well.
Thank you, guys. And before I pass it on to Enzo to give us his presentation, I also want to ask you guys, is your business new to eDiscovery? Have you used it before? I don't know, maybe it's the first time you hear about eDiscovery today. So let us know in the comments. And if you been using eDiscovery process in your business, let us know what's your biggest challenge in managing eDiscovery activities. Please pop it in the comments while Enzo will give us his overview on the eDiscovery process. And also while he's giving us some ideas, make sure you pop any of your questions in the comments as well. I know Enzo told me about this before this live stream that he loves talking, so we need to make sure we're only giving him 7 minutes for his presentation.
7? You told me it was 10.
10? Sorry. Okay.
Oh,
now
I'm gonna have to speed it up.
I'll take it back. We give you 10 minutes for your presentation. Okay. So please give us a bit of an overview on the discovery process.
Okay. So I'm going to take you through eDiscovery and what is eDiscovery. And again, over the last 20 years, eDiscovery has developed from initially being the process of discovery. So discovery is the process of doing a review. And again, 20 years ago, it was predominantly, if not longer, it was predominantly documents that were hard copy that need to be digitalized for those documents to then be reviewed in a technology solution. So get to the next slide, please, Jana.
Yes.
Yep. So this is what a lot of organizations, this is the model that is used, which is EDRM, or Electronic Discovery Reference Model. Although there's been some iterations around this model, more around information governance and some other aspects around analysis and review. So the ability to initially identify information, so the identification of data that is going to be used for an eDiscovery exercise, whether it's litigation, investigation, freedom of information, data subject access request, or arbitration. There is initial scope to identify what's going to be needed and what's going to be captured in that process. The next process is the preservation. So preserving the information, preserving the data. So obviously for an eDiscovery and for forensic, the efficiency and the preservation of data, making sure that the data is not manipulated, altered, or affected in any way through that collection process, which then brings me to collection. So when collecting electronic data, the need to be forensically sound. I know that back in the day, a lot of eDiscovery matters tend to be hard copy documents, so there was a process of digitalizing that information. And as we progressed to more complex cases, even today, where the multitude of data is in the terabytes, petabytes, and even greater than that, being able to capture that data, process in a way that is then made available to the legal team or investigative team or the team that's going to apply the analysis, hence where the processing stage comes into play. So when you process electronic data, it's the means of extracting metadata information from that item, being able to search against that information as well. So the review and analysis is the next focal point. So although review and analysis, sometimes it's an in-between. So you might do an initial review, then you might do some analysis of that data, go back into review. So although there's a review and analysis, some of that information can go backwards and forwards multiple times to get to the bottom of the information that is prevalent to a particular case. Then it goes through to production, then presentation. Presentation is where that information is then presented to the courts or to a regulator. Depends if it's a matter to do with a banking royal commission, being able to provide that information to the commissioner. If you could go to the next slide, please. Yep. So a lot of challenges that I've seen within the eDiscovery industry and clients as well is the volume of growth and the complexity of matters. And as I made reference, back in the day, to receive a floppy drive, or that consisted of 3¼ inch media, to now getting hard drives and getting mobile phone data, getting cloud-based data, the complexity and the scope of that data that's being collected needs to be presented in a way that is defensible to an organization. What I've also found is, again, even to this day, there are clients that have a solution on-prem or on-premise. So they put it on-premise more for a security requirement because they want to have everything ring-fenced around their firewall. But as we see, a lot of eDiscovery solutions, again, being Nuix, have placed our eDiscovery solution within the cloud. We have a cloud, we have it on-prem, so we have like a hybrid model depending on what the client needs and what they want. But we also find in now a cloud-based solution that the security model that's based within a cloud is somewhat more prevalent to those that are on-prem. And again, we have within our Discover solution, it's IRAP assessed at a protected level. So a lot of our government entities and government clients are now utilizing our solution, knowing that their data is now placed within the cloud, but also placed within a protected environment within that cloud as well. We also see a pressure to deliver better services and lower prices. As we look, law firms are now competing with one another to be more innovative in the way they present eDiscovery. We're also finding that now that in-house counsel are also wanting, or in-house counsel within a corporate environment are also looking at bringing a solution in-house because they want to eliminate the scope and the tendency of the cost that's involved within eDiscovery. And those that have been in eDiscovery for many, many years know that the most costly portion of that is the document review component. What we also find is the rapid pace of innovations. As I made reference, the complexity of the data, the different types of data sources, being able to analyze that data, being able to make that data available, the ability to extract text from audio files to become searchable, being able to analyze video files, and again, a lot of eDiscovery matters that I've tended to work on has been predominantly around the corporate, the corporate and the government side. But we are finding that law enforcement are now utilizing our eDiscovery solution because they want a full end-to-end solution, from data collection to data process to data review, document review and analysis, to produce that to the intending recipients. So if we can go to the next slide, please. So Nuix Discover. So Nuix Discover, as it's made reference, it's built for the business of review. Obviously, through Discover, our solution, being able to have an end-to-end solution from being able to process the data, analyze that data, making that information readily available for the investigative team or the legal team to undertake document review, to use the analytics that are built into a solution, as opposed to using an analytic solution that is external to our Discover. And obviously, being able to have the ability to have quick reporting at a per gigabyte size, per document size. So being able to scale and look at the metrics that have been undertaken throughout the course of an eDiscovery exercise. And obviously, as made reference, the solution is seamlessly incorporated within our cloud and also our on-prem. So being on cloud means that we're able to deploy upgrades and patches to elements within the solution really, really quickly. If it's not weekly, it's quarterly as well. But as I made reference, knowing that the solution can be run either on-prem behind a firewall, either within the corporate or the client's private cloud, or within our Nuix cloud environment. Next slide, please. So how are our clients using eDiscovery Analytics today? And obviously, when you're looking at the four components from processing, review, analysis, and production, obviously our processing engine is a proprietary solution that is able to process thousands and thousands of files, and not only thousands of files, but also process those files at a rapid rate. So being able to make that data available to our legal team, investigative team, as quick as possible, because obviously, as we all know within eDiscovery, time is critical. So being able to deduplicate, being able to identify foreign languages. So, and again, when you're doing an eDiscovery, having spent 6.5 years in the UK and doing eDiscovery out of the UK, where we were supporting clients out of the Middle East and Asia, being able to identify that language identification so that you can then position how you're going to do your document review, because you don't want documents of a foreign language to be captured in a review of pure English documents. Obviously, in the review, being able to do early case assessment or early data assessment as it's presented, being able to do search term vetting. So obviously, back in the day, eDiscovery litigation matters were predominantly driven by search terms. You run a search terms, you batch documents in a linear approach to the legal team. And again, search terms, you might be presented with 100,000 records. You would have a team of about 50 or 100 reviewers reviewing documents from the earliest date to the end date. But obviously, with the capability within eDiscover, being able to vet the search terms and how accurate those search terms are throughout your review process. Because if you have a search term that presents that returns 50 documents, where during your initial review, 49 of those documents are coded as being relevant, that's a good search term that you may want to use. If in the same scope, if you run a search term that brings back 500 documents, where only one document is being identified as being relevant, is that the search term that you want to use against your population? Because based on that, you're going to be looking at a lot of false positives before you get to that initial document. With the analysis, and obviously being analytics, Discover, as I made reference before, Discover has built-in analytics. So when you're looking at predictive coding, continuous active learning, email threading, visual concept clustering, and review quality control, all that is actually built in. So it's not only built in, but it's built in at no additional cost. Having done eDiscovery for many years, when I say we, the legal teams tend to, back in the day, want to do review in a linear approach. I did a project exercise where there was about 50,000 documents. They wanted to do a linear approach, although I was trying to provide them a solution about using analytics. They were quite opposed because that's the way they always did it. So during that review, it took 4 weeks. They did their review, not knowing that in the background every day, I was running the analytics, the continuous active learning against the documents that they coded. At the end of the review, we did a debrief, and what happened is that their review, over the course of the 4 weeks, their responsive rate was going up and down, to the point at the last day of the review, they were still coding documents as relevant. Through the continuous active learning and other analytics, I was able to identify that if they were to use continuous active learning, items that they flagged as being relevant at week 3 and 4 would have been identified within the first 2 weeks. And again, when I present a solution to a client, it's not about looking at every single document. If you want to look at every single document, do so, but use analytics to prioritize what you need to look at. Not only to prioritize, but also to do quality control about what you need to look at. And obviously, the last one is the production. Being able to produce the data in the format that is derived around your jurisdiction. Obviously, in Australia, there is a court requirement to produce documents in a particular format. That format that we produce in Australian Australian format is different. It differs to the way that it's produced in the UK. and also maybe differ to the way that it's produced in the US. So obviously, knowing that our solution is able to accommodate different productions based on the different jurisdictions that that client is based, but also where that hearing's actually been heard as well. If you can go to the next slide, please. I just want to give you some visualization. So this is a visualization of continuous active learning, and as you can see in this exercise here, there was a sample set of documents which are 500. Initial subject matter expert did their review. Based on their review, the system then we then trained the system based on those documents to then score a document from +1 to -1. Those items that the system scores as being +1 is what the system believes to be most responsive or relevant or privilege relevant. Those that are -1 is what the system believes to be not relevant or privilege not relevant. So using the continuous active learning, as the review's taken shape, the system then learns based on the coding criteria that's been met to then train the documents that have yet to be reviewed. So the overarching exercise for continuous active learning is to mitigate the need to potentially review every single document in your data set. If you click on the next slide, yep. Here we go. Concept clustering. So Discover has the ability to cluster documents based on conceptual themes. So as you can see in this image, what the system's able to do is to group documents based on themes. So in this, for this exercise here, it was to do with the Enron data, and those that know about the Enron data, it was to do with a case that happened in the US about gas price fixing. So using this document, using the concept clustering, you're able to identify information that is prevalent to your investigation or review without even doing search terms. So what it actually does, it groups documents based on concepts that the system automatically extracts during the processing phase. And through that, you're able to, as you can see, there's green, red, and blue dots. The items that are in green is what someone has physically coded the documents being relevant. Those that are in red is the documents that have been coded as privilege relevant. Those that are in blue is what the system has, the reviewer has yet to review. So using this visual representation, a reviewer, an investigator can visually represent the information that's prevalent in their investigation, again, without doing, it's like a high level overview. Then if you zoom in, you actually able to go to a macro level view of each document. If you go to the next slide, which is email threading. So Discover is able to identify emails based on threads, and the way that it does that is through the use of pivots. So as you can see in the screen, where you got thread data, there's like those little blue boxes. What that actually means is when you're doing a review, rather than reviewing 10 emails that form part of a thread, Discover's able to identify those emails in the thread that has the most contextual content within that email thread or chain. So in this exercise here, there's 22 items. But if you were to look at and review only those items that are identified as pivot, there's only 12 items. So in theory, it's about mitigating the need to review items that is not necessarily required, because you're able to view the most contextual email in that thread. And again, this is all built in at no extra cost, and again, it's available for all projects. And I think that concludes the slide deck. Thank you.
Perfect, Enzo. You did use a bit more time than allocated to you, but we'll forgive you, okay? Guys, if you have any questions to Enzo, please make sure to pop it in the comments, and Enzo will ask, obviously, and he's gonna answer all your questions. And look, we pass it on. I'm gonna pass it on to Eugene, but before I pass it on to Eugene, try to find Eugene in this picture.
Yeah, I mean, thanks, Yana. Enzo did a great job. I feel like some of the legal businesses that have been listening to this live stream already feel accelerated with the, sort of concentrated information on how they can deal with their challenges. And yeah, that's a nice picture. Actually, that's me within the team of lawyers who've been replaced by Nuix Discover solution these days, because there is no need to get a lot of junior staff to review documents. And behind us there's like there is a building of the Enterprise Chamber of the Amsterdam Court of Appeal, which used to be like my favorite venue to go for corporate litigation. And in a nutshell, we had to review a lot of documents, a lot of evidence from at least 3 to 4 jurisdictions in different languages to prove some facts. I mean, back in the day, it was 5-6 years ago. It actually allowed me to travel extensively to Amsterdam all the time. But now probably I would be able to do all of that from my office or even from home. We're in 2020; it's all possible.
We're all in lockdown.
Yeah, in the lockdown. So in Melbourne lockdown, and pretty much, the idea is that I actually understood that technology started to influence legal industry very heavily back then. This is why I'm actually now collaborating with Fastlane and Nuix on the legal tech side of things. And most of these people, they're still lawyers, but they're not doing a lot of document review. They are more, to the sort of bucket of our discussion, they're more dealing on the strategizing or decision making for their clients, and most of them they would have some sort of eDiscovery solution in the backend to support their practice. So probably we can go to the next slide, because I'm sure people have already identified me there. So yeah, pretty much the guys who were on the first picture look this way today. They all integrate some sort of analytical or AI or eDiscovery solution to sort of upstream their legal business. And most importantly, nobody would like to be charged for unmeaningful billable hours from the expensive law firms. And the one I started working with was Baker McKenzie back in the day when I was a junior lawyer and reviewing tons of documents just to find one fact or a piece of evidence, which has led me to some other chain of things, and it didn't make any sense from client perspective. And probably over here, I would like to ask Steve and Igor, what do you think about the changing kind of from the client's perspective or even legal perspective? What is the impact of solutions like Nuix Discover, and how did it impact business and lawyers, both in-house and advisors, and essentially the business chain as well? Probably let's start with Steve on the business side.
So thanks very much, Eugene. So basically, I think about it from our perspective. One of the things from a business perspective, you're always focused on different material outcomes whether it comes to certain transactions. So as a founder, you're either focused on, typically, obviously the different business issues. If you have different legal issues that need to be solved, there's that aspect. But also, if you're in a cap raising mode, or if you're going through a merger or acquisition, or even as Nuix is going through an IPO, typically there's an insane amount of documents that are typically as part of the process. And what you'll find is a lot of the analysts at the different investment banking and so forth firms, their role is to obviously go through that sort of documentation. So from our perspective, we went through the process of receiving investment from Investec, which is a London Stock Exchange listed investment bank. And, at that time, we weren't quite prepared for the process. And what that meant for us is that, it basically consumed a lot of my time preparing that information to have it ready to go through the process. And what I understand with the investment banks is they're also looking for what Enzo sort of described as they're looking for potential manipulations in the documentation that gets provided to them. So when you're going through that transaction process, they're typically looking at snapshots of data rooms at different stages to try and understand if any of the material information they're looking at is changing as they're going through a transaction. So that's a key part. And I think the other part is for either consultants or sort of lawyers working with companies is that, it's really it's a process of educating companies from early on that, effectively having their information structured and ready to use by whether it be investment groups or advisors, whatever it means, is effectively saving everyone a whole. It's basically improving the efficiency of any corporate finance related transaction that the company's about to go through. And from a company's and from an advisor's perspective, that can translate into improved valuations. It can improve into faster transactions, which ultimately is really what you're going for, whether as a founder, because no one wants drawn out processes, and also no one wants let's call it issues that can be discovered in the sort of due diligence process that they weren't expecting.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I'm just wondering, that's an interesting point. Is actually Enzo, does Nuix use Nuix Discover for its own IPO, or it wouldn't work for you guys?
No comment. Now, one thing I should also iterate, and you made reference, is where, like I said, before coming to Nuix, I've been here for about 14 months and been in the UK for 6.5 years. I've found that as lawyers, I had a team of 10, and as lawyers, there was the head of disputes was quite innovative in the way that he wanted to present the technology solutions within the firm. So they then started making it that there was a seat available within the tech team, the eDiscovery team, for lawyers to get an understanding of what the technology is about. Because when you're looking at lawyers presenting themselves in front of a judge around litigation, investigation, or whatever, where they're using technology, it's in a lawyer's best interest to know the technology, know the workflow, know the process and procedures, because if the judge ever questions them with regards to, did you use predictive coding or analytics? Yes, it's their responsibility to respond to that question, but also know of the workflow that was undertaken in that project for that question. So we're now finding that the concept of legal technologist, where someone who is legal background but also has an interest in technology, is quite prominent within the law firms, or the law firms that I presented. But also we had playbooks. So what I mean by playbook, we had defined playbook that identified the process, the workflow, the process, procedure, methodology that my team, being the tech team, would undertake on a client data set. We also had a playbook that also deemed what the responsibility of the legal team, and also the responsibility of the client. So the legal team knew what their responsibility was for that eDiscovery project, but also because we had this playbook, our technology playbook, they knew the steps that we were going to follow, whether it was a litigation, whether it was investigation. So a lot of in the playbook was generic, but where it deviated to different matter types is where we would then focus on how we were going to action that task. So there's a lot of repetitive work, but it also meant that when we're presenting our solution to a client, that the client had a clear understanding of the process procedure that the firm was going to take at a technology standpoint, but also at the legal standpoint as well. And we're also finding now that corporates, when corporates are engaging a law firm, corporates are asking the law firm, what sort of capability you have internally to mitigate spend? Because for the client, it's about getting to the source of the data, but it's also about getting an efficient workflow. And corporates now know of the capability within eDiscovery Solutions being Discover to mitigate that legal spend.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. And so, as you mentioned, you back in the days, you had this head of practice who was pretty innovative and took, sort of future-proof steps to apply technology back then. But still, within the legal, advisory and consulting industry, we may see some resistance from lawyer side who are used to practice in certain manner, and they have had like decades of experience. Just probably a question to Igor: how can we decrease resistance of lawyers or in-house compliance departments to apply technology where it can sort of mitigate all of risks and make it more lean?
Look, that's a pretty easy question to answer. If you look at 20, maybe 30 years ago, you would deal with what maybe thousands of documents, which will probably most of them will be hard copies, various contracts, agreements, and so on and so forth. These days, companies have to deal with gigabytes and terabytes of data, and everything is an evidence. All sorts of emails, interactions with people, social networks, and so on and so forth. It's just not possible to get through that amount of data without any solutions or software. I think on the conference, we had a person from one of the big banks in Australia basically presenting their case, how they use Discover to deal with government compliance requests. Essentially, it looks like this. We believe you did something wrong. You have 7 or 10 working or 10 calendar days to answer. We don't care if there's public holidays. You need to present your case by the date or else. Right, and the legal team in the bank or compliance or discovery team in the bank has to sift through millions and millions and millions and millions pieces of evidence, and it's just not possible to do manually anymore. Like it's those times are well and truly gone, and those who don't adapt to the new pretty much this to those who don't adapt to the new reality. Well, everyone will adapt to the new reality. Come on.
So you say there is no other choice, right? Pretty much, it's just a matter of how agile you are in that space. So, Jana, if we can proceed to the last 2 slides we have on my part, I think we can give it a snapshot of not this one. This is clear that these are my colleagues from the past. Now they look like that. So the way we also see customer journeys in relation to eDiscovery solutions, it's not only legal or forensic experts, as we've discussed. Now it's all going down the road to the business owners who are either running the business or entering the market, and they would definitely like to avoid any sort of compliance issues or damage to their reputation. Otherwise, it might be any kind of risk officer in the bank or a huge corporate organization, which extensively, as Enzo mentioned, and there are a couple of huge examples recently, they're taking over a lot of this type of work, which used to be historically part of the legal business. They're taking that work in-house, so law firms and consultancies have to adapt and to provide more tailored and more sort of rich on content and other things service than just opposed to manual review or even like automated review, but not made in a nice way. Next slide, please, Jana, if possible. So yeah, the way we tend to see that as well, and honestly, this has been sort of a little bit stolen from our communication with Nuix experts, that whenever you go beyond the line of those security, legal, HR risks or risks in compliance, you just pay more. You have more. You're basically running around the clock, and you are exposed to many risks, whatever your business case is. Is it a company which is entering the market, especially if it's enterprise grade level, or if you're law firm which advises your end customer on any of the issues? So it's much better to govern your data and your documents and your information flows earlier, before that yellow nice line, which still solutions of Nuix can help you out there, but it will already expose you to a lot of risks. It's just will be the mode of mitigating those risks, as opposed to in the safer mode, focus on information governance in sort of peaceful mode, and monitor and apply features of Nuix Discovery like early case assessment to sort of decrease your litigation risks or arbitration risks. Pretty much this is the area where technology and legal expertise can be combined and apply it in a safe mode, not going into this dangerous territory behind the yellow line. And nobody would like to feel like this emoji on the left, apparently. So pretty much I would like to wrap up this with the last slide, Jan, if possible, over here, and give it to the discussion of the panelists and the audience. We are very happy to set up the integration partnership with Nuix officially this year. And as audience and everyone involved may see, the value of any software or service around it is interdisciplinary these days. And it's great that both Nuix and Fastlane have these people. And as Enzo mentioned, he has had this experience of dealing with innovative lawyers back in the days, already understanding that the industry is going that way. And myself, I understood in 2015, near the building of the Amsterdam Court of Appeals, that nobody's going to review documents with teams of hundreds or dozens of lawyers. So they all got fired and changed the law firms. And I went into IT consulting, right?
And just to add to that, Eugene, to me, to this date, it's unacceptable. I mean, I like to think it's unacceptable that you would have a pool of reviewers doing review when the technology can also assist in that exercise as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I don't know if I made reference. The most costly portion of any eDiscovery exercise isn't processing the data, isn't hosting the data. It's the review component of that data.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, and so if I may, you correct me if I'm wrong, as it progressed and the evolution of eDiscovery sort of went down the road, it started with review, but then we have had these features adding like analytics, like concept review. So it doesn't stand stagnant, and it evolves all the time. And just starting with sort of manual challenge of the business, it goes into more being helpful for decision making for either its lawyer or compliance officer or business owner. So probably, Steve, what do you think about the say we've discussed a lot about kind of legal and tech component. If you're just a business owner, you're dealing a lot with startups or investors, and you don't have this sort of extensive tech or legal experience, but you really don't want to go behind that nice yellow line where the dangerous territory is, right? So how do you see a lot of traction in terms of instruments or tools in the market that will be helpful for both sides, investors or startups? If I'm a small startup and I'm a business like small startup owner, would you see the value out there as well?
Here's the thing, like you only typically think about this type of issue when you do have a transaction coming up. I think it's more in the responsibility of, I think, the advisors and the legal firms to educate the clients on these kinds of issues, because, you know, for us as founders, especially in the smaller businesses, you're typically moving, you're part of your job is as a firefighter, right? So you're basically putting out fires and you're dealing with things as they come to you, and you're dealing with things as a matter of what's most urgent at that time. You know, you're not thinking about those risks that you highlighted. But the ideal scenario is if you can guide the companies to plan for that and to be prepared for that, and to at least get that prepared, and then all of a sudden you're changing the framework which they're working at. But more than that, you're actually setting your clients up for success when those transactions unfold. And I think that's the key part to focus the founders on.
Yeah, absolutely right. And so are you seeing that clients, I know you're dealing a lot with the legal industry, but have you sort of come across the trends that people are trying to be proactive and anticipate, as opposed to putting the fires away all the time, already applying Nuix Discovery in the litigation phase or some sort of active risky phase?
Coming to Nuix, again, prior to Nuix is all about legal. It was all about, the legal firm, dealing with corporates. Coming to Nuix, I'm exposed to legal firms, service providers, but I'm also exposed to a lot of government and corporate entities as well. So we're finding that government and corporate entities are bringing, and also law firms are bringing a solution, making a solution available, being Discover, to alleviate the need to go into litigation. So again, if there is scope, if there's a potential scope for litigation, they will in turn process that data, analyze that data initially to get a sense up front whether that matter is going to be in a position to go to litigation or not. Even if it's investigation, sometimes institutions use Discover for an investigative review because they don't want to they want to mitigate any external exposure in the market. So being able to analyze data and view data up front also means that they're not chasing their tail, so to speak. So they're being more proactive rather than reactive.
Yeah, absolutely. Being proactive is something that is a game changer for your sort of long-term benefits. And I think that, like Jan asked that question in the beginning of our live stream to the audience, if you're new to eDiscovery as such, it's effectively, I'm hearing a lot of feedbacks that this is the stuff which is used during the litigation only. So I would highly encourage corporates and startups and all sorts of businesses to be more anticipating and actually applying this type of solutions to in the safe zone before it actually exposes them to any sorts of risks when they're already out there.
Correct, 100%.
And we still have a few people on the line. Richard just told us that he needs to leave. So because we are actually hitting 45 minutes into our stream. So I guess it's a time for some final questions. We also want to hear from you guys who's still with us on the line. Do you outsource or insource your eDiscovery process in your organization? Please let us know what's the process the most beneficial for you at the moment, or if you would like improve it, or it's been working for you for a long time. So please let us know in the comments. And I just we probably can take one more question from the audience and one more question from the panel. So maybe, what's Steve so silent there? Steve, do you want to ask a question? You have been replying to the questions, but haven't asked any questions. How about you put Steve on the spot and ask him to ask some questions from the business perspective?
You want me to ask now?
Yes.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, for Enzo, from your Nuix perspective, have you worked with companies that are going through that, or have you worked with investment banks that are working with companies going through that IPO process for that discovery?
Thinking face.
Steve, you put me on the spot, mate. I mean, we work with a lot of financial institutions. Although we work with the financial institutions to provide them the technology solutions to, the enablement to process data, analyze data. With regards to the type of matters that they're dealing with, I don't have visibility. We don't have visibility because obviously that's their own. When you're talking about legal matters, again, in a financial institution or corporates, we have minimal exposure to the type of matters that they're dealing with, other than we provide, consulting or solutions in how best they can actually manage that matter, that data, or process that data, or whether it's audio or video files or whatever. So for us, for that question, although I can't answer that question outright, because again, like I said, we don't get exposure to the type of cases and matters that financial institutions deal with on our solution. Given that the solution may be in the cloud, sometimes it's in the client's private cloud, we only have minimal visibility at that of what they're actually doing within their solution as well.
Makes sense.
I'm just wondering, Igor, banks are his favorite clients for whatever reason. So, Igor, what do you think? Do banks or investment banks actually need to apply eDiscovery or any of Nuix suite solutions to, to stay safer. We have a couple of scandals recently, so maybe you know something about it.
Igor?
My apologies, Eugene. I'm running through connectivity difficulties. If anyone can still hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Now you're on mute, Igor.
Don't we like live streams? It's always something happened with technology, yeah? Talking about the technology. Igor, can you try? Oh, here we go. Igor's back.
Yeah. It's
yeah, something with the connectivity.
No, he's not.
Anyone at this point? It just shows me the loading animation multiplied by 5. So, and I completely missed the question, Eugene. Sorry, I couldn't even hear you.
Do you hear me now? I think we can skip that. Igor.
Partially, yes.
Partial.
So,
we can get a partial answer.
partial answers.
Yeah, I think you asked something about the banks or something, and
yeah, you can imagine. I was asking if banks would really love to use.
Now everyone's gone again.
Any other products of Nuix.
Looks like we have to give up on Igor today because his internet connection is not helping us today. So, as like we like to use technology, sometimes, unfortunately, the technology fail. We can't get it to work in time. So, guys, we actually already in the 50 minutes mark. I guess it's time to wrap things up. Is there anything else you want to leave? You want to add briefly, just to summarize our today's discussion? Eugene, is there anything you would like to summarize for today?
Well, yeah, I would like to thank Enzo for his beautiful presentation and always interesting insights of Steve on the business community, investor community out there. And Steve had this challenging question to answer about investment banks. So that's another sort of episode where we can see at least 3 or 4 areas interdisciplinary where classical consulting businesses or business needs meet technology, and then we still have a lot of human factor in that, where pretty much this process impacts the roles of the specialists and subject matter experts acting in the field. But my take on that is that essentially nobody needs to be afraid of this changing landscape. Myself, I've gone through this transition from purely lawyer to more of a business management consulting with some high-level understanding of the technology, and having the privilege of working with companies like Nuix. It's all about being open-minded and understanding where does the business landscape moves and where does the technology moves. So another good sort of series of that discussion. Thanks a lot, and Jana, as always, for your beautiful administration approach. So just to wrap up,
and lighting,
yeah, and lighting approach. So just to wrap up, anyone who would like to reach out to reach out to either Nuix or Fastlane team, you can use all sorts of people on your screen for that purpose, and we have a specific RegTech page on the Fastlane website dedicated to that. And of course, you can always email us or reach out to Enzo or Steve or to Jana with her lights for maybe other reasons. And hopefully, we got Igor back, so he fixed the technology challenge there.
My apologies on behalf of
just in time for us to finish. Perfect timing, Igor.
It took a while for it to come back. Yeah, live streaming is fun, ain't it?
And you didn't need to answer the question, actually. You just avoided it, but showed the, the proficiency to fix technology like in a couple of minutes while I was trying to, to take the floor over here.
So next time you're on the live
timing,
stream, next time you're on the live stream and then you don't want to answer the particular question, you can just simply say that your internet is not working. So here we go, problem solved.
You just pull the plug from the router, and then 10 minutes later, I'm so sorry, what else happened?
Yeah, right.
Thank you so much, guys, for staying with us for the last hour. So obviously, it's a time for us to finish our live webinar. So please make sure to support us by subscribing to our YouTube channel, because the Fastlane mission is to educate our network about all the recent trends in the industry and bringing various subject matter experts. So please make sure to subscribe to our channel. And I'm just going to announce as well that in December, our live stream will be on the next live stream on the 3rd of December, and the topic is the future of tech startups in 2021. With the current global health crisis and the new normal, we all have to embrace certain changes that to be expected in the business scene. So on the 3rd of September, we're going to discuss top takeaways for the tech startups from 2020 and business trends that will shape the future of tech startups in 2021. We will have 3 guest speakers, Olga, Denis, and Renata. They all CEOs of the tech startups. And we have Eugene there as well. As you can notice, he's not CEO of the tech startup yet. He just spent too much time in legal business.
Yeah, too much, And but I gather up this nice crowd, so I hope one of the speakers will be actually talking from the US, and probably he may drop off like Igor did tonight for the time zone reasons in the middle of the live stream.
We don't know what will happen in the US after today, so
yeah, hopefully he will even join us.
Hopefully he'll be able to join us on the live stream, not banned from the online communication with Australia. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining us tonight again. So we're trying to finish before 59 minutes. So please make sure reach out to Fastlane team if you have any, if you need any support with your technology solutions. So obviously you can visit fastlaneit.com.au website. And if you want to reach out to Steve, Enzo, or Igor, you can also connect with them on LinkedIn. So, and I'll put the links below this video by the time we finish this live stream. So thank you so much, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this evening. And we'll see everyone on the 3rd of December. Enzo, what's
Thanks,
so
Yana.
funny?
Thanks, Yana.
I was going to say thanks, Yana. Thanks, Fastlane, for having me as a guest speaker. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot,
I didn't
Enzo.
give you a chance.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
See you.
Yeah.
Yeah.